The Tale of Two Dogs. Once upon a time in a bustling city, filled with towering buildings and honking carriages, there lived a hard-working dog named Mr. Bruno. He was a tall, proud golden retriever who wore a crisp suit and carried a leather briefcase every day. From sunrise to sunset, he worked tirelessly at an office, ensuring that his little pup, Max, had everything he needed. Max was a lively and curious beagle pup with bright eyes full of dreams. He loved chasing butterflies in the park, playing in the rain, and listening to the bedtime stories his father told after long days at work. But as much as he admired his father, he often felt lonely. Mr. Bruno was always busy, always rushing, always too tired. One evening as Mr. Bruno trudged home, his tie loosened and his paws heavy, he saw Max sitting on the steps, his tail barely wagging. "What's wrong, son?" he asked, concern washing over his face. "I miss you, Dad," Max sighed. "We never play together anymore. It's just work, work, work." Mr. Bruno's heart ached. He knelt beside Max and gave him a warm nuzzle. "I know, my boy. I work hard so you have a good life, but I never meant for you to feel alone." That night Mr. Bruno lay awake, staring at the moon. He remembered his own father, who had also worked tirelessly, but had never had time to play. He had promised himself he would be different. And so, the very next day, Mr. Bruno made a change. Instead of staying late at the office, he came home early. He took Max to the park, where they rolled in the grass and barked at the birds. He taught Max how to fetch, and Max showed him how to chase his own tail. They laughed until their bellies hurt. Life was still hard. Mr. Bruno still worked, and some days were long. But no matter how tired he was, he always made time for Max. Because love, he realized, was not just about providing, but also about being present. But one day a big challenge came their way. The company where Mr. Bruno worked announced cutbacks, and he lost his job. Suddenly, the secure life he had built for Max seemed uncertain. Bills piled up, and food became scarce. Mr. Bruno, once a proud and confident worker, felt lost. Max noticed the sadness in his father's eyes. One evening, he curled up beside him and whispered, "Dad, remember how you always tell me we can get through anything together?" Mr. Bruno sighed and nodded. "Yes, my boy, but things are very hard now." "Then let's do something about it," Max said eagerly. "You always tell me I'm clever and full of ideas. Maybe we can find a way to help each other." Inspired by Max's optimism, Mr. Bruno began looking for work again. But instead of returning to an office, he tried something new, starting his own bakery for dogs. With his strong paws and dedication, he baked the most delicious, bone-shaped biscuits and fluffy meat pies. Max helped by running around the neighborhood, delivering treats and spreading the word. At first, things were tough. Some days they barely sold anything, but they never gave up. They worked together, encouraging each other, celebrating even the smallest successes. The neighbors began to love their treats, and soon, their bakery, Bruno and Max's Treats, became the most popular in town. With time, their lives became stable again. Mr. Bruno realized that even though life had thrown him into a storm, he had something even stronger: his love for his son and their unbreakable bond. No matter how hard things got, they had each other. And so, through every challenge, through every storm, Mr. Bruno and Max stood side by side, knowing that as long as they had each other, they could overcome anything. And they lived happily ever after.